We have covered Jim Trotter here before. This man, a fearless journalist who called out injustices in media, spoke truth to power, and questioned one of the NFL's highest paid employees, the commissioner Roger Goodell, who was coming off a 5-year, $200 million deal. Trotter would bring up the newsroom, his office, and how the NFL may commit to diversity, equity, and inclusion, yet there was not a single black person in a senior management role. He would point to the league being 70% black, yet those making decisions do not represent the makeup of the product on the field. Ditto with the news desk. And thus, he would straight up ask Goodell, senior management, and the desk, after saying you fell short the previous year, Mr. Commissioner, when are you going to make these changes? Goodell would reply, well, I'm not in charge of the newsroom. Respectfully, this was a cop-out. Anybody who knows anyone at the top of any profession, let alone the commissioner of a sports league, knows this is untrue. Think of them as having an automatic opener from their phone to lock or unlock the doors. That's the power Goodell has. One call, one click of a button, and poof, it happens. Jim Trotter questioned the hiring practices within the league office, within NFL media, with respect to not just executives, but also head coaches, when the NFL had only 2 black men at the post, one of which, Lovie Smith, admitted he didn't even know he was in the running for the job with the Houston Texans, and he was axed after 1 season. Trotter would broach the subject of NFL owners where the diversity pool also remains in question, showing the power structure of the league. He did this in front of the media, in front of the masses, nationally televised press conferences, in back-to-back Super Bowl pressers, when the media has a chance to question Goodell on almost anything, and he will find a way to twist words to say basically a bunch of nothing, like all the time, unless it's about the Kelce's mother's baked cookies. That's the only time it appears he'll be honest. And we would learn this week from Trotter himself, who had the balls to ask these questions, that after 5 years, Trotter would no longer be an employee of NFL Media Group. Quote, I was informed over the weekend that my contract is not being renewed, he wrote in part. Trotter, appearing on the program Brother from Another, suggested it was from his questioning of Goodell, who vehemently denies any such notion. In Arizona, the site of NFL team meetings, Goodell claimed he had no role of this happening and was just made aware of it. He made it a point to say Trotter's questioning of the league's hiring practices falling by the wayside over the years had nothing to do with the decision. Reading these quotes from Trotter, especially this one on your screen, where those at the top say, please hold us accountable. We want to know when we're screwing up. We yearn for this knowledge. Put us on game. Help us. Quite honestly reminds me of this. The NFL press conference with Jay-Z that they had in partnership with Rock Nation, in response, if we're being brutally honest, to the blackballing of Colin Kaepernick, and thus they struck a deal for Jay and others to take on the opportunity to put on concerts for the NFL, including Super Bowl halftime shows. And he said, I want to be held accountable, yet it does not appear to be welcome. Mike Freeman, longtime NFL media member, would write, and I quote, letting go the reporter who brought attention to the league's failings on race not long after he questioned the commissioner about the league's failings on race, especially at the NFL Network, which helps shape how players are viewed by the general public, is peak NFL on race. Sports media, as we know, largely remains what? White. Sorry if we're being coined as too woke here, because the numbers speak for themselves. The Institute for Diversity and Ethics in Sport, they had their report card on the industry. Nearly 80% of sports editors were white. Over 83% were men. 72% assistant editors white. Nearly 76% men. You see the rest of the numbers on your screen. This is a glowing problem each and every year. And it is something that could also be illustrated not even of yesteryears or what have you. It could be of yesterday, when Karan J. Phillips of Deadspin tweeted about it. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Understanding the context for this Matt LaFleur presser would give the mind plenty to reckon with. Yet one quote that really stuck out to me and stays with me is from none other than Trotter on the Richard Deitch podcast, where Trotter basically said Goodell is unreachable. He also knew there was no progress being made from years prior when the commissioner acknowledged it, and he said it was an issue. Trotter admits in the interview he brought this up internally in his column for Deadspin. Karan J. Phillips would write the following: hiring tried and true journalists only to get mad when they stand by their journalistic ethics and ask you sound questions with facts and context is either arrogance at its finest, moronic, or somewhere in the middle. Those are all fair points. My question is this. The torch must be passed in that building from one to another. Who will extend their hand to Trotter as his lap now is being run and it is nearing the conclusion?